Hey, Neck Nation, this is NECKROOTS. I'm Kit James.
Austin Davis.
We're coming to you live from NECKROOTS Ranch, and today's podcast is titled Patience is Power.
Patience is power, Kit. I love it. You know what? We live in a society and in a world where everybody wants everything right now.
Yeah.
Right? We've got fast food chains. I don't even know how many fast food chains we got, but any type of food you want, you can get it fast, right? Because we want it right now, unless you go to like Wendy's or something, dude. The Wendy's by my house takes like an hour to go through the drive-thru. So that's not fast food, but food, we want it fast.
Yep.
Information, we want it fast, right? We got the internet, we got Google in our Google boxes.
Yep.
We want information right now. I can get it right now. We want answers to our questions right now, right? There's get-rich-quick schemes, right? Everybody wants to be rich, but we want to be rich right now.
Right.
We don't want to be patient. We don't want to put in the work. So society and the world are shaping us to just be impatient individuals, right? And it's not a good thing, Kit, because things don't always come to us super fast, right?
No, they don't. You know, talking about patience, I should just take the headset off and let my wife come in here and talk, because I'm not very patient.
Dude, me neither.
She's patient with me, man.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, what's interesting is you're right. I mean, I grew up in a time when information wasn't at our fingertips, right?
Yeah.
We couldn't flip the flip phone or the BlackBerry or the great big Motorola.
No, you went to the library, dude.
Yeah. or to someone that knew, and
Yeah.
we just assume they knew,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, it's good and it's bad. Getting information right now is it's a blessing. It's awesome. Technology's dope, right?
Yeah.
But you start to get conditioned. If you can get an answer right now and you can try to figure out how to fix a lawnmower or whatever on YouTube, you're sitting there watching it. Anyone's a mechanic now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Maybe not a good one, but
they get the job done.
right. They can put a muffler on a blinker.
Yeah.
Right? But,
there you go.
but the reality is, it's a double-edged sword. It really is, because when you get conditioned to get answers right now, well, the next step is getting things right now.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you can get an answer right now, you can get a thing right now. And that's just, I don't know if it's the world or just the fast pace that we're moving at, but everything's right now. We want it right now, and we want a guarantee. And, you know, you look at guarantees and you look at right nows, and it's like, it works when we want something, but when we got to dig deep and do something, do we ever do it right now? Right?
Yeah.
And taking action's a big part of this, you know, remembering our roots and trying to be better tomorrow than we are today. And those things take action. And I think we're slow. Our reaction, our action is a little bit slow in those in those movements, right?
Yeah.
In those next steps. But they are right now when we want something, right? Something shiny.
Yeah. Yep.
So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and Kit, there's the old adage, right, that good things come to those who wait. And I think about these moments where maybe I've been impatient. Dude, I've been impatient, and I've got thousands of things that I'm impatient about, right?
Yeah.
It's things as simple as walking behind somebody who's going too slow at the grocery store. Dude, I can't stand it. I just want to be, I'm like, don't you have something better to do with your life than walk slow through the grocery store? Get out of the way, right? Get impatient over the little things. But one thing that we have to understand about this is that it takes practice, right? Yeah. Patience takes practice. And we've got to work on those little things, right? Whether it's at the grocery store, you're impatient, or when you're driving and you're impatient, there's little things that we're impatient about. And then once we've got those figured out, we can work on bigger things, like being more patient with our kids, with our family members, in our relationships, or maybe it's a business or something that you're doing and it's going to require patience. But back to that adage that good things come to those who wait, right? Impatience can lead to certain feelings or emotions.
Yeah.
Right? So when I become impatient, I get irritable, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I get angry, frustrated, right? And that will set the tone for the rest of my day. And had I just been patient to begin with, right, it wouldn't have affected my day.
Yeah.
So
no, you're absolutely right. And I think the ones that matter most to us, the ones we see all the time, we're probably most impatient with them.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know why. With a stranger or a coworker, we might be a little bit more patient than we would be with our wife or with our kids or whatever. And you know, a lot of it's awareness, right? Because you know, for my boys, I set the expectations kind of high, and so sometimes I'll get impatient, but always being aware and remembering, hey, I don't want to talk to them. I want to talk with them, you know, and getting on their level and stuff is always good. And their response is always better. But I used to always tell my kids, you know, I push them so fast and I go so, and they see me trying to go fast and let's get this done right now, real quick and in a hurry. Right. And so they kind of adapt that. Well, sometimes when you're doing that, you find the quickest way to the bottom line, and the quickest way to the bottom line always isn't the right way. And so I've made some mistakes, and it's like, why did I make that mistake? You know, well, because I was in a hurry. Well, if I'm in such a hurry and I made that mistake and it's time sensitive or whatever, when am I going to have time? If I can't do it right the first time, when am I going to have time to do it a second time?
Right.
You know, and so it's just common sense when you think about it. It's like taking a step backwards and really planning it out and doing it right once, right? It's measure twice, cut once, or whatever. It's like, if it's really that time sensitive, when am I going to have time to do it over?
Right. Yeah,
So,
it saves you time in the long run. And you said something really important there, like when you were talking with your kids that you would set expectations. And one of the things that I thought of when it comes to becoming more patient, what are we going to do, right? It's not like all of a sudden we snap our fingers and it's like, okay, I'm more patient.
right.
But we've got to manage our expectations and maybe adjust our expectations with regard to certain things, right? Because, you know, if we're always expecting it right now and we don't get it right now, well, then, you know, that leads to different emotions and like I talked about before. But if we can reassess our expectations, right? And like the example that you gave here of if you expect to get it done right now, you're not going to get the quality job. You're going to miss things, and it's going to have to be redone. But if you reset your expectations of yourself to say, you know what, I'm going to give myself a couple days to do this, make sure I got it done right, make sure I haven't missed anything, and then by the time I'm done, I am all the way done, right? You reset your expectation with yourself.
And you're miles ahead.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And you feel like you're getting behind because you're not doing it fast enough, but truth is you don't have to go back and redo it or fix this or fix that. And, you know, anytime when I'm setting up a new crew for anything, right, or setting up a business, organization is so important because when you get organized and you know where everything's at, I mean, you roll into the NECKROOTS studio here, you know where we hang our, you know, headsets, you know where we put our everything, right? We know where we put our glasses, our pens, our this, or that. And if you're spending time searching for it, you're wasting time. But if you didn't take the time to put it away and put it where it belongs, and you know what I mean? And it still happens, you know. We get haphazard all the time, but I think taking the time to organize our business or our workspace will save us time. But if it's going to save us time there, taking time to organize our life, organize our expectations, update our expectations, and being aware, well, even though it'll take some time, it's worth it. And I think one of the biggest things you can remember about patience is it's like hard work. Anything that you have to work for, you appreciate more.
Yeah.
Right? That first car I had, dude, it was a pile of bolts, man. Frick, I shined every one of those bolts because I worked for it, right?
Yeah.
I earned it. Well, when you have to wait for something, it's similar, right? It's just as important and it's just as valuable because it's something that you were, whether you were patient or not, you waited for it.
Yeah. Anything worth anything is worth waiting for.
Yeah.
Right.
I remember when I was young, my dad's, me and my older brother said, Dad, we want these bikes. And we were specific about what bike we wanted. They had to have these yellow mag wheels and mine had to be this color and da-da-da. And he goes, no problem. And so he takes us down to the bicycle store and he says, pick out any bike you want. I'm like, frick, dude, Dad must be on, you know, something.
Yeah.
He's feeling good. Right?
He's in a good mood today.
Yeah. Me and my older brother are all fist bumping and the whole deal. Like, dude, we're going to ride in the town parade, put some confetti on our bike.
Throw out Tootsie Rolls.
Oh, frick, yeah, dude. Mayor's going to call us for sure when he sees our bike, dude. You're going to say, put crepe paper on that, man.
Well, there's only 3 people in the town, so
yeah, and they had training wheels.
yeah,
so.
there you go.
But anyways, we go in there and we pick out these bikes, and I was tripping. I'm like, man, I can't believe he's buying us these bikes. This isn't like him, and he usually makes us wait or work for it. And so we get home, and dude, it felt like forever to get home. It wasn't that far. And we get home and get him out, and we're like, a dog that hadn't had his bowl filled up for 3 days. We're like, okay, let us on him. He goes, oh, hang on. We got to get a spot for him in the garage. And so he hangs these hooks in the garage. Bro, my dad's tall. He's a big dude, right? Mm-hmm. He reaches up and he hangs them bikes on the ceiling. And we're like, why are you hanging them on the ceiling? He goes, well, come here. When that dirt pile's moved from there over to there, then we're going to pull them down.
Jeez.
I just looked at my bro. I'm like, really? And so he's like, we made a plan. We got up. Dude, it took us 3 weeks.
Dang.
To move it. You know what I mean? It took us a long time. But I tell you what, we took care of our bikes. Not only because we had to work for it, but we had to wait for it. Yeah. And every time we put that wheelbarrow and that shovel away, after grinding it out, I mean, we have blisters on our hands, the whole deal. When we had to put it away, we look up at our bikes, be like, remember our why.
Yeah.
Right? When we didn't want to lift the wheelbarrow or shovel another shovel of dirt, you just got to remember your why. And I think a lot of times, we've talked about it, but it goes back to that, when we're feeling impatient, it's like, why am I feeling impatient? How important is this thing for me? And you know what I mean? So just being aware and keeping us in check and it's sometimes our patience is a moving target. Why is it that I'm impatient with certain little minor things and the major things I'm patient with, right? Yeah. And a lot of it's the same. Minor or major, it's the same. Principles are the same. The patience process is the same. But why am I freaking ready to tap somebody on the end of the beak? Because I'm impatient. Right?
Right.
So I think it's just being aware.
Yeah. And, we've just talked about the example that you just gave is being patient with regard to things. I think the other thing we got to be patient with is people, right? Yeah. So we set our expectations of people too, right? Yeah. Your dad set that expectation with you guys that you need to move that pile of dirt, and you understood, I got to move this pile of dirt, and then I get the bike, right?
No. My dad hoodwinked us, bro. He took us down there and said, pick any bike you want.
He didn't say you could ride it.
No, yeah.
He just said, pick one.
Yeah.
So, but we've got to manage our expectations of people, right? Because everybody's different. There's going to be people in our life, Neck Nation, everybody out there. You've got people in your life that don't live up to your expectations, and that causes you to be impatient, right? And then it brings about these other feelings. So we've got to set our expectations with individuals, but one of the most important people we got to set our expectation with is ourselves.
You're right.
Right? We've talked about becoming, and becoming being a process. We're not going to go from, feeling bad about ourselves and having all kinds of problems and issues internally and maybe with our families and everything to the next day everything's roses, right? It's a process. We've got to be patient with it, and we got to set that expectation and know that it's going to take a while. The other thing about patience is being patient exemplifies our understanding of a situation. So let me explain that further. Neck Nation, Kit, concrete, right? You've poured concrete for a number of years, and nobody knows concrete better than you, Kit. When you get a call and they tell you that the truck will be there, mud will be here at 1:30, and it's 9:00 in the morning, you know that the truck will be there at 1:30, and until 1:30 comes, you're fine, right? You're not antsy, you're not anxious, you're nothing, because the truck is going to be there at 1:30. Now, if the truck's not there at 1:31, right, then you start to get impatient. But you knew it was going to take a couple hours for the truck to be there. And you were patient and you waited for it. And it's that understanding, right? So I think as individuals, we need to take more time to understand things, understand how things work, understand how things unfold. And then that will help us to be more patient, right? Once you understand, some things just take time. They do. Not everything happens right now. And once we understand that, and we can apply that to things and people in our lives, we'll adopt more patience.
And I think you're right. That's just being aware and having that understanding, if we take the time to understand that it's going to be this way, I mean, then you can say, all right, well, we're ready. We got all this time. Let's go next door and do this, or let's go do this job, and then we'll come back, or whatever. You're able to plan, and nothing's a big deal,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And it's not worth complaining about because you already know it's not going to speed the process up,
No, nothing's going to change it.
right? So, I mean, we do get impatient, but when those expectations are set, and this is how it is, matter of fact, right? Hit an attack with a sledgehammer, and they say, this is the deal.
Yeah.
Guess what? That's the deal.
That's it.
Right. And
Yeah.
so I think we got to do that with us. I think about setting goals and the way we set goals, and we get impatient. We want to lose weight right now. We want to have this money right now. And you know what? Those things, we just want to make progress right now.
Yeah.
Right. And that patience, I think we have less patience with ourselves than we do with anyone else, unless it's something we don't want to do. And then it goes into a whole nother episode of excuses, right?
Yeah.
So there was this story that I remember, and this old lady lives outside. She kind of lives down in a valley all by herself, right? Well, the king, even though she is part of the kingdom, she lived on the outskirts, just what she preferred, right? Well, one day, and she didn't really associate with the king and know what he looks like or anything else. She just was part of the kingdom, but on the outskirts of the king's walls in the city. So one day the king's going out, and he's trying to conquer all the cities around him, right? And he's super aggressive and sending, and he's sending armies in, and he's taking resources, and people are getting killed, but he's after it, right? He's a pretty powerful kingdom, and he's taking out these little kingdoms around him. Well, one day he goes out scouting, kind of looking and kicking around, and the sun started to go down, and he's like, frick, I'm lost, right? He goes back up this valley, up this hill, and he tries to get to the highest point to see where he's at, and he's like, dude, I don't even see any lights from the kingdom. Like, I must have been thinking, strategizing, and walking, and I've done walked too far, and I don't know where I'm at.
Yeah.
He didn't have anybody with him. Usually he has some of his servants with him. He didn't have anybody with him. So now he's hungry, he's cold, he's lost, he has no clue. So he spends the night, now he's a day and a half without food, water, the whole deal. He's tired, he's scared, right? All these things. Like, man, I hope I don't walk into enemy territory and people not know who I am. He's looking haggard and beat up. And so anyway, and nervous and hungry and dehydrated, the sun starts to go down, and he gets up on this hillside, and he sees this little flicker of light down in the valley. And it's that old lady's house, right? And so he goes walking down into this valley, and he'd never seen this house before, and he sees this little cottage. And he goes and he knocks on the door and explains the situation. He didn't say, hey, I'm the king or anything.
Yeah.
He just knocked on the door and he said, I'm lost. I'm trying to get back here. And she goes, well, it's nightfall. You look tired. You want to come in? And so she laid him down a rug to relax on and have a place to lay down. And so he did. And then she made him some hot curry and rice, and gave him some water. And so when she brought the curry and rice over, he didn't even wait, dude. He sat up, dipped his hand in there, and burned his fingers.
Went to town. Yeah.
And he started, complaining about burning his fingers, and he tried to eat again and burned his tongue. And he's like, this is too hot. And she's like, you know what? You are just like our king. You are impatient. And he goes, well, why is your king impatient? And she goes, he's trying to take over all these territories. And he just barges in there, and we lose half our men, and he's getting somewhere, but he'd get somewhere a lot faster if he wasn't so impatient. And he's kind of bothered. And he goes, please explain further. I don't get it. He goes, I think the king is, ambitious, and he's focused, and he's motivated, and he's getting after it, and he's doing a good job. And she goes, yeah, that's what everybody thinks. But the truth is, it's just like that curry and that rice. If you would have started from the outside where it's cooler and ate that first, right, you wouldn't burn your fingers, you wouldn't burn your tongue, and you wouldn't spill or waste any food, right? Because you spilled half of it because it burnt you.
Yeah.
And so then by the time you get to the middle where it's really hot, it would have cooled down, and you can, patiently eat the whole bowl without any episodes. So, and he goes, well, I don't understand what that has to do with the king's ambition. And while he's eating, she says, well, if he was patient, he could go take some of the smaller outlying villages, strengthen his position with his army, and then be able to attack, right, with a stronger position and not lose as many men and actually get further. Even though it takes longer, right, it would strengthen his position. He would go in with more power and he would lose less men. And she goes, but he's just too impatient. He just barges through the front doors and loses half his men and tries to take over the city.
Yeah.
And then goes and recruits more men. And so, moral of the story is the king was like, you know what? That's good advice. And told her he was the king, and she kind of freaked out. But,
Right.
But she was right.
Yeah.
You know, if sometimes it looks like it takes longer to take a pit stop here, take this little village over easily, right? Because they're not going to stand a chance with all your warriors from the kingdom, and then strengthen your position, take a minute, and then keep going little by little, right?
Yeah.
And so you end up getting to the end result faster, cleaner, you know, more precise, and your success rate's a lot higher.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that idea of strengthen our position, Kit.
Yeah.
Right? And we can do that with every aspect of our life.
Right.
When it comes to patience. So let's do that, Neck Nation. Let's strengthen our positions. Let's ensure that we're being patient with the little things so that we can be patient with the bigger things. Or if we're already patient with the big things, let's be more patient with the little things. I know I could use some help in that department. But if you like what you've heard today, if you like the content, please like and share this video so that more people can see it. You can follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is. And then if you like the gear that we're wearing, the hats and the shirts and stuff, go to neckroots.com and see what's on there and see what fits, and then order yourself something up.
Yeah.
But for right now, we'll leave you with that message, and thanks for listening. Bless up, Neck Nation.
Bless up.